Okay, I'm going to show you the advantage of walking around on stilts and working on the high ceiling. These are 9-foot walls, so without these stilts I'd have to climb up and down a ladder or a bench. When you're putting the stilts on, you always want to do your top strap first so it's not flopping around on you when you go to do your foot straps. And mind you, there's plastic on the floors in this house, so I got to take baby steps because the plastic makes for trip hazard. And I'm by myself here, and I don't want to end up falling and breaking my leg. And of course, I'm videoing on my phone, so I wouldn't be able to get to my phone to call for help. Lots of laughs. So you put your leg strap on first, then your foot straps. And you want to make sure they're nice and snug. You don't want them flopping around on your legs and your feet. Then you just got to kind of ease your way up, and you get used to it. So I'm going to hit a couple of these high spots that I can't reach from the floor. And mind you, this pan full of mud weighs about 20-25 pounds. No joke, when it's full of mud. What I always want to do is try to hit the butt joints first. Smear you some mud on them butt joints, nice and even as you can. And I'll go around and I'll do multiple butt joints before I tape them. I got the mud nice and thin right now, so it's kind of runny. Which the thinner the mud, the easier it is to run. You know, while I'm up here, I might as well hit a couple of these screw holes. And when you're standing, you always want to kind of stand bow-legged. It helps you keep your balance a little more, instead of trying to stand straight up and down. Alright, that's it for now. I'm going to get this all over here. I haven't been doing a lot of videos of me actually working because because of the fact that I've kind of been pressing for time on this job. But I'll try to do a few more. Since I'm in the taping and bed coating mode. Alright, then once you get a handful of joints muddy, it's time to put some tape on them. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put the tape on first before I wipe them down. That way, because I can't really handle the pan of mud and doing the taping at the same time, so I gotta set the pan of mud down. And I usually use my knife as my fingers for guiding the tape, holding it, and then it'll tear. My goal today is to try to get this ceiling knocked out as far as taping wise. That way it'll make me feel like I accomplished something more than just these little rooms that I've been working on. Alright, once we got my tape down, let me get this one more high butt joint over on this wall. And you notice I got my bucket sitting up high, that way I can reach it from my stilts. Because you'll be surprised how fast you go through a pan of mud when you're walking around in these stilts. And if you got your bucket sitting on the floor, you have to take your stilts off and put them back down. It's just saving time. Alright, now I got tape spread, I'll go and wipe the tape down. Generally, I like to press against the top, put some pressure, that way you ain't sliding the tape off the wall. So you get that first wipe down, then the rest wipes off pretty easy. You don't want to leave any big smudge marks from the mud on the wall. You want to try to kind of wipe it clean. And generally, if you're good enough, you'd be doing this with the banjo, spreading this tape, but I haven't ran the banjo so long, I just use it on the lower stuff. Because that banjo will wear you out. Do the butt joints first, and then once the butt joints are done, I'll go ahead and do the flats. And once the flats are done, that's when I'll tape my angles. I like to tape the angles last. I don't know if it really matters, but that's how I do it. And when your mud is nice nice and runny, I gotta have it nice and thin, it wipes pretty easy. If your mud is thick, yeah, well, then it doesn't wipe down as easy. Your tape wants to kind of fold over on you. I know you can't see this wall too good at the angle of that camera, but that's all right. We got to run some tape on that one. I got the tape on my hip. I'll do this big butt joint above me. Yeah, you're always going to drop mud when you're taking the seal, when you're mudding the seal, spreading mud on the seal. Can't be helped. So you just got to accept it, because it's going to happen. And see, after a while, you kind of forget you're even on stilts, and it just comes natural. But you don't want to get carried away and forget about it, because that's when you'll fall. And you definitely always want to look ahead when you're walking around on these stilts, because the slightest little object on the floor can make you fall or trip, lose your balance. And I have wiped out on these before in the past, and with a big full pan of mud. It ain't fun. There's two. I'll get this other butt joint over here. Now you wear the stilts enough, you can actually get going pretty good on them. Especially if there ain't nothing on the floor and it's a nice clear floor. You can actually take some pretty big strides. Like I said, generally, these butt and flat joints, I'd be taping them with the banjo, but I prefer to hand tape on the ceiling, even though I know it takes a lot more time. I got three. I'm going to get that other butt joint over there. And then I got one more there, and all the butt joints on the ceiling will be done. I only got enough mud in my pan to run one more anyways. And I'll fall back and I'll put some tape on them. when you're trying to videotape this kind of stuff, it would help a lot if you had yourself a cameraman or a camera person, which I don't have. My wife's back home in Tennessee, tending to the house and all our animals. Alright. My pan's empty. As you can see, it didn't take much to empty. So what I'll do is I'll crank some of this. Whoa, see that piece of plastic caught my foot. That could have been disastrous. You want to always put your tape on, keep it centered of the break in the drywall. You don't want to offset, that's for sure. But you could generally you can see the joint through the mud. One more over here. Okay, that'll just leave me 2 more butt joints. We got one there and one over the camera. But I don't want to spread mud over my phone, so I'm going to take this off, kind of deal. Now when I got these joints in the middle of the room, I can't leave my pan against the wall. I'll just, piece of plastic right there. I'll just generally take the tip, one of the ends of my knife, and I'll run down one side. Nice and light, kind of. And then I'll come back and do the same on the other side, and by that time the tape ain't gonna slide around on you, and then I'll go down the center. You don't want to press too hard or you're drawing all the mud out, but you don't want a lot of mud underneath your tape, because that'll just crumble up your joint that you're gonna be pad coating. Got these nice and light on that side, and I'll come back and do it again on the other. By that time, I'll run it back. Bam. And I'll always go over the edge and feather down my edges. You don't want to ridge over your edge, on your edges. I gotta be careful of that bank, so I gotta do it this way. If you work on sealants for long enough, it'll start to get to your neck. I got one more over here. When you're doing the taping and finishing part, generally, this pan and this 6-inch knife is what you use 90% of the time. And all these screws gotta be hit 3 times. I hit them twice with a 6-inch, and then the last time I'll hit them will be with my 8-inch knife. And now, the first time I hit them, you know, I just pretty much be filling in that little cup that the screw's sitting in. You know, when you set your screw, you always want to set it underneath the paper, so where it goes, the knife can flow over it without hitting the screw head. And then the second time, I'll make a little wider one after this. I'll do it the second time once it dries. And then the second time I'll go wider over my screw heads. And then the third time, like I said, I switch size knives to my 8-inch. Yeah, I'll hit these ones on the wall that I couldn't reach from the floor. Yeah, when I hit these screw heads for the first time, I'll generally wipe it down really hard. I won't leave much mud on there. I'll just leave enough to, like I said, fill in that little cup that screw head's sitting in. And generally it doesn't take too long to hit all the screws. You shouldn't put too much time into it. I remember when I first started out drywalling with my Uncle Steve down in Texas, we used to do a bunch of Jim Walter homes back in the day. I don't even know if that company's still around or not. Back in the day, we did the Jim Walter homes. We would insulate it, hang it, and tape and bed coat it all in one day. Of course, them homes are tiny back there. Like I said, I don't even know if they got Jim Walter homes around anymore. But that's how I learned how to drywall, was down there in Texas. In that good old Texas heat. There's times it was so hot we couldn't work during the day, we had to work at night, hanging them houses. And I was a greenhorn back then. That's how I started out. I would spot nails. Back then we didn't use screws, we used nails to hang drywall. Nowadays we just use screws. For one thing, they're more durable. They last a lot longer than screws, or than nails, I mean. Anytime you see a gap in your drywall, you know, from hanging, you want to try to pre-fill them big gaps. A couple more screws over here. And there, that's that. All right, all the screws are hit for the very first time. The screws that are by the flats and the butt joints, I don't spot them. They'll get hit when I put the bed coat on. Well, anyways, that's it. I'm going to shut the video off. If people don't want to do like me and hear me bullshit talk, but that's pretty much it, how you, the advantage of using stilts.